I mean, new law is still very much a small part. It's only a very tiny piece of the legal market. It's still only about 1% globally. So it's not going to take over the world of provision of legal services anytime soon. But it is part of the process in terms of modernising law, bringing it into the 21st century. So new law and big law and old law, however you want to use those terms, everyone has to modernise. So a new law firm is not going to survive any more than an old law firm is unless they also innovate and adapt. So at the end of the day, new law, everyone thinks of it as the secondment model, it's the body shop model, it's putting people into in-house teams generally, sometimes partnering with law firms, on a basis where it's a more cost-effective and perhaps more efficient basis than using a traditional private practice lawyer. But at the same time, there's a lot of competition. We know there's the big four, they have the scale, they have the capabilities to size up on things like the audit work and the regulatory work. So where the new law firms need to organise themselves is on things like they also need to have the technology capabilities, they also need to do the innovation, they also need to show that even though they're doing things on a smaller basis, if they're a smaller player, that at the same time, as well as having a very capable lawyer, if they're going to go in and do an efficiency type project, that they have the technology, they have the tech, and they have perhaps even the accountants, perhaps even the audit experts, as well as the legal professionals. So you're right in terms of that we're more nimble. It's still a more nimble industry, whether you're the size of one of the longer standing players like an Axiom, and compared to say a new player like myself, Cognatio. But at the same time, an Axiom can still be much more nimble than its equivalent in perhaps one of the big law firms, and that's where we stand out. But we need to keep standing out. I think a lot of it's to do with, not just the global, financial crisis in 2008. I think a lot of it's also to do with how people work, how they want to work, and what companies are prepared to pay for. So in Asia, for instance, it has been behind the curve, or everyone thinks it's been behind the curve compared to, say, Europe and America and Australia on the provision. But actually, on the client side, they've been looking for efficiencies and cost savings for a long time. I think where it's been slow in Asia is actually having people wanting to work through that model. So the client take-up has always been healthy. I think where it's been, people are now realising that they can work for big names, they can do interesting work, and yes, their salary might not, it might be 70% of what they were earning as total comp in an in-house role, but at the same time their work-life balance is better, they have more choice, and they can go in and just focus on the work, get in, get out 3 months later, or longer depending on the project. But they have got more control over the workload and who they want to work for.